Everybody, welcome.
Temporary certificate of occupancy.
That's right. We were foiled by a TCO inspection. Is that what you would call that?
It's basically when the hotel is about to open. And think about a hotel, right? Think about a restaurant, to put in perspective. All the things you have to go through for a restaurant inspection to get it open. Now, think about a hotel that has 600,000 other things, plus restaurants and bars. So under a pandemic. So the hotel we're supposed to be at is going through their TCO inspection today. So I wish them well, and we'll be back at them very, very soon.
So sorry about that. If you guys think I'm a liar, pants on fire for saying we'd be on location today, we tried our best, but we're really hoping that hotel gets through their inspection and can open up in a timely manner. All right, guys, on Friday, I wanted to let you know we're doing a very special show. We are not doing a rerun. We're doing an all-new show this Friday right here at 12 o'clock. Why? Because we got Dr. Michael Osterholm on here. For those of you who don't know, he's kind of like Anthony Fauci. So he's really one of the top leading infection disease specialists in the country. He's a Regents Professor, Ignite Presidential Endowed Chair in Public Health, and the Director for Center of Infectious Disease Research and Policy. And I could go on and on and on.
It's a very hard guest to get. So, David, thank you very much for getting that. Our producer, very, very hard guest to get.
Yeah, very, very impressive. And also, while we're doing some show notes, I did want to let everybody know we're going to be making a little bit of a tweak, a little bit of a change starting next week. We're going to be focusing on distributing to just one channel. As you can tell right now, we've been here, we've been there, we've been everywhere, but we keep hearing about our audience getting fragmented. We're not happy with that. We want this show to be the best we can. So we've decided by putting it on one channel to go live, that'll be helpful. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be on at Anthony's Facebook page. And then I'll be able to rerun it through that mechanism to a couple of other places. But we want everybody to go to Anthony's page starting next week. Don't worry. We'll remind you. I'll put it in this Sunday night's newsletter to let everybody know as well that starting on Tuesday after Labor Day, that is what we'll be doing next.
And don't forget, our podcast will still be everywhere you want to get a podcast. So that doesn't change.
Right. Absolutely. And if you can't make Friday's show, like Colleen says, she might miss it. Don't worry. It's there. It's going to be online in perpetuity, so you can check it out. So, Anthony, I'm sad that we weren't over at the that hotel that we talked about today. But the one thing that I'm excited about is we got a great guest here today because we're going to be focused on what students can expect going back to school. And I know, Anthony, you're already dealing with that with your children that are not in the hospitality field, but still in school.
Absolutely. Before I talk about that, this hotel, I'll just call it a hotel.
Yep.
I'll tell you which hotel, maybe the hotel we're going to, maybe a different hotel. They're paving the front of the hotel, the street, the city's paving the street to get it ready. And they found cobblestone. The owners of the hotel found cobblestone. So they say, hey, we'll pay the money to bring the cobblestone back to life. The city said, no, we like black pavement instead. I don't understand.
I don't understand that either. It's like it really works against creating great character for the city. We want to honor our history, our heritage, where we came from. And I'll tell you, the streets that have cobblestones in New York are some of the coolest places in all of the city.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. I love it downtown with all the cobblestones. So yes, my children are back in school. Some are online, some are in school. It's and I also sit on the board of directors of my university, Park University, which I should have asked Dr. Gunderson to be here today, and I did not. But I will get him on the show very soon. Also, I represent a company called Farrow's. I'm going to have them on the show very soon. They're great people, and they have a lot of information, a lot of insight. So there's a lot going on in schools. So who more appropriate than our favorite neighborhood doctor?
Yeah, here we go. Let's bring him on right now. Dr. Peter Ricci in the house.
Hello, hello.
Hey.
Dr. Peter Ricci in the house. Has anybody ever said that?
No, I like it. And you guys just make me chuckle backstage.
Yeah, we're going to raise the roof, man.
Well, thank you for having me back. I'm not as exciting as a TCO, but when I was a GM and opened new hotels, when that TCO notice comes, you dance and you do whatever it takes to get that baby open. So.
And I'll tell you, they were awfully apologetic to us. And we're like, what are you kidding me? This is your business. Don't worry. We are going to be there to help.
So, Doc, you've been on before, but why don't you tell people your background, what you've done?
Sure. I am here at the lovely Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton. No cobblestone around, but still a beautiful place. And last time I was here with some of your great colleagues from education, we were in the midst of having kicked off a free mini certificate at the start of COVID. Because I've been in the business my whole life, the first thing I wanted to do when COVID started was keep people engaged for the 30 days or so that they would be home. Haha, here we are all this time later. And we moved about almost 50,000 people through the
Oh
certificate.
my gosh.
Yeah, crazy. We had like almost 80,000 register. Of course, things happen. People lost internet. The kids were out of school. They couldn't attend to the time. But the first wave in this mini certificate, we had almost 45,000 complete, which was amazing because that was 75% of the people who actually got started in the class. So pretty amazing. And it created for me this world of I can't explain it any better. I started as a dishwasher when I was 14 years old, and I'm 55 now, so my whole life is hospitality. But this was really a career sensation, of love and connection that I've just never experienced in my life. And it's funny, we put them through waves of cohorts. And the first wave, everybody's still working, still getting paid, optimistic about going back soon.
Right.
The second wave, stimulus started, a little trepidation, but not that concerned. The third wave, they're now laid off, the kids are home, they're starting to freak out a little bit. And the fourth wave and beyond, a whole new world. What we did, and I want to show this, is we compiled their comments and we found it in a book. It's
Wow.
this fat. This is, hundreds and hundreds of pages of comments from the attendees. And I told
Hold on,
my
not
student,
to interrupt you, not to interrupt you. Open up one page and read the first comment, just right in the middle. Just open, read one comment.
okay, oh God, it's taking a risk here.
Yeah.
Today I
Why?
finished.
Why did you let that guy Glenn participate in this
Today, I
program?
finished my certificate in hospitality and tourism management from Florida Atlantic University. I want to thank Peter Ricci and team for putting together this incredible program. I lost my job at Delta Airlines, and these are unprecedented times. Delta is all I've known. I can say that FAU has earned a special place in my heart, and I want to take more courses at this great institution. Go Owls. That's the first one.
You
But
don't bring tears to my eyes. That's amazing.
Oh, I read a page a day. They make me cry. I mean, there's just many of them that make me cry, and but there's hope in there too. So,
Right.
what I wanted to talk about today is everybody who took this. This was a mini version of our normal certificate, which is about 45 hours of content.
Right.
And that certificate we've had for years, like most every academic institution, and it was always priced at 699 bucks. Well, we raised from this initiative. People gave us $1, $2 to thank us for doing this. Now we've lowered the price and we're going to just do it in perpetuity forever. So we
Oh,
have one.
amazing.
Yeah, we have one now with 700 students, and Glenn, you're in there, and they love your interview.
Thank you.
And then we're doing it again in the fall. We'll do it again in the spring, and we're just going to keep paying it forward. But kind of what I wanted to focus on today was all these people have flooded my LinkedIn, my social media, sent thank you cards, and hearing all their feedback has really changed where I think the industry is going. Like at first, everybody was like, let's go right back to work.
Right.
Let's get there. And many of your guests have that sentiment. Let's get there. What can we do? What can we do? People in the cruise business, the live events business, and some of the other areas are more interested in learning how we're going to adapt as an industry. What are we going to permanently change? And how are the young students going to be the entrepreneurs to lead us to the future? Like simple things like buffets. How are we going to change them? How are we going to design them?
Hmm.
People are still going to meet, they're still going to eat, but we got to do things differently. So now I've changed from let's get back to work and push it to what do we do next? And it's very difficult for me because I straddle education and industry. It's just who I am.
Right.
And if I were in a building right now managing a hotel, I'd be kind of thinking, how am I going to change this? What am I going to change that? So I don't know. You guys ask me questions because
I'm going to ask
I
you
think-
one question.
Go ahead.
Hold on one second, Anthony. Sorry. It's just that we're getting comments from the audience wanting to know how to get involved in this certificate program already. So maybe you could give a quick shout out to that so people can get started immediately, and then we'll do it again at the end of the show.
Sure. All you got to do is email me, hospitality@fau.edu, and Dave could put that in there,
Yep.
hospitality@fau.edu. Just email me. But the responses, we had 2 negative comments out of 487,000.
What was it?
And
I want to know what the 2 negative was.
one was that there wasn't enough on cruise lines and they really wanted some more content. So in round 2, we added cruise lines. And the other one was they like face-to-face learning better and they want to come back when we do face-to-face, but not really negative that I would,
Right.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
and I was like, wow, if I had a regular class that had that positive feedback, I'd be delighted, you know?
Well, we're going to have that person that wants more on cruise line. We're actually working on, right, Dave? Just probably
We are.
We're working on a very, 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 very big executive in the industry, and I'm very excited to hopefully have her on soon. Yes, talk to Susan. Yes, talk to them. Yes.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome.
So
And you know what's funny? The cruise lines, the reason they haven't really wanted to jump into anything is because they're not sailing yet.
Right.
And so they're working on what their strategy will be come post restriction removal from CDC. So I get it.
I think cruise industry is going to come back bigger and better than ever. It's going to be a little bit different. I think it's going to have less cabins, more open spaces on deck, more bigger pools with a little bit smaller. I'm highly recommend Dr. his program. So and smaller rooms, which I don't know if those rooms can get smaller. But I was going to ask you a question.
Yeah, they'll be smaller than New York hotel rooms before you know it.
So
Well,
where are you now? Are you online mostly? Are you in classrooms? How did you deal with the COVID? Everybody got to get tested. Tell me where you are.
Well, as far as the university, we've tried to maintain some semblance of the college experience for freshmen, sophomores. So there are some face-to-face classes at a small percentage for, I would say, lower division. But we do have them also in upper division. However, the vast majority are online. And to keep engagement, we've done online synchronous like we're doing right now with you, where you sign in specific time, that's your class time, and you're a little more engaged than fully online where you just watch videos at your convenience. So we have a mixture of everything. Earlier when I was backstage, I was chatting and saying I was super surprised that our enrollments were up for summer by almost 20%. And our enrollments are only down this semester by about 4.5%. But it's too early to tell. My as far as education and hospitality, I'm worried about 2023 and beyond
Right.
because the pipeline, if I'm home, and my parents have both been furloughed, I'm not sure I'm going to want to study hospitality. I don't know what I'm hearing in the house. And so I think we're 2 years down the road from really being what the reality is. So what I'm telling students now is focus on the communication skills that we teach in the hospitality business. We happen to be a program that's housed in the business school. So they're taking accounting, finance, management, organizational behavior, all the stuff they need. But the interpersonal communication skills, the ability to react to guest or client needs, that's what we teach in hospitality, and that transcends any industry. So I think a hospitality education is still super valuable. And if nothing else, we're seeing a shift in where the students are going to work. They're going to work for call centers, for Amazon, for Chewy.com, for Target Online, and they're using those hospitality skills in more of a retail online world.
Right.
So for now, I think we're morphing temporarily to get them hired, but the skill set, it'll remain invaluable forever. I mean, it's not going to go away.
You've had many challenges over the last few months, as most of us have, or all of us have. What was your biggest challenge? Because you are one of the most positive individuals we've ever had on the show, I've ever met. I mean, you obviously dealing with a lot of stress. What was your moment where you're like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through this? Like, when was your like, oh,
Yeah.
man.
It's funny. I grew up in a family on welfare, and I worked in hospitality my whole life to get out of debt, get out of poverty, and I've always been positive. But there were two times during the summer in the midst of the certificate where I about lost it because everyone was feeling connected to me, and so they were emailing me, and at some points I was getting between 8 and 12,000 emails a day.
What?
And yes, and when I couldn't respond to all of them personally, which is my MO, that's what I've done my whole life. I
Right.
have a policy where I respond to emails the same day unless it's a catastrophe.
Right.
So I was getting completely overwhelmed, and I would just have to stop back and say, wait a minute, you know, um, when I went through the 80s recessions, I went through SARS, I went through 9/11. We've always rebounded as an industry, and I've always rebounded as a person because of this industry. But I have to say, there were a couple of times I almost lost it on days with those emails. I mean, there it was one point I remember that the the ding, it was like brrrr, they were like coming in at this at one time, and I was just like,
Well,
no,
you know what? You know, it's interesting. I have trouble getting back to one or two emails. How, and I mean this sincerely, how in God's name do you go through 8 to 12,000 emails? It's impossible.
You know what I credit that to? I wanted to take driver's ed in high school. And in order to take driver's ed, you had to take typing first, which I didn't want to do. But I took the typing class so I could take driver's ed. And I had learned piano when I was 15, just very little, not great. But I was typing with two fingers, 35 words a minute, and resisting the teacher telling me to just learn how to type
Right.
properly. And
Mhm.
she said, if you just learn how to type properly, you'll get a faster pace. And I finally did. And I credit my ability to process data because of that. I type like 140 words a
Wow.
minute. And that's kind of how I get through the
Well,
processing. And,
I
you
type
know,
90 words a minute because in the Air Force they made me take typing class twice because I failed typing class, believe it or not. And so I type pretty fast myself. But think about 8,000 emails. If
I
you
know.
spend 30 seconds on 8,000 emails, that's the day.
I know, I know. I was getting up at 5 a.m. and I would finally just crash at 2 a.m. and do it all over again.
But
And
don't you have a
everybody
school to
at
run
FAU,
besides typing? Don't you have a school to run?
yeah, I do. In the background, I was teaching. I still got good summer evaluations. It was
Yeah.
just incredible. You know what's really funny? I just want to show this again how fat it is.
Yeah.
I've been trying to tell the students what it looks like in case they don't see it. And I tell them it's like an old phone book that used to be left at your doorstep, and nobody knows what a phone book is. So I'm
Or-
really
or-
dating myself.
Out of all the comments that you've read, you know, you're reading a page a day. What was your favorite? Summarize it.
My favorite was a lady and her husband who met at Marriott as one was a dishwasher, one was a room attendant, and they've been with Marriott 31 years. They both lost their jobs simultaneously in
Wow.
Orlando, and they were completely lost. But at the end, they're like, we're completely together because of Marriott, because of the hotel industry, and we'll be completely together no matter what. That was their comment. And then about 3 months later, she got her job back and he didn't. And she said, I'm not so happy now because he gets to stay home and I'm working. And it was the cutest thing, cutest thing. But they've worked at Marriott for 31 years. And most recently, they've been at Grand Lakes in Orlando since it opened together.
Well,
Just a
I
great
think you're a
story.
great example of what the hospitality industry is, and the hospitality industry is positivity. And I think that you really embody that in a really really big way. What has been your biggest challenge from your professors, your teachers? What have they struggled with?
Making sure that we have the hospitality spirit alive in a virtual environment.
Right.
The certificate proved to me that that's possible because I've never met any of these 60,000 people, but I really feel connected to them. And it's funny, like I was new to podcasts, new to watching webinars and all this, but I do feel connected in some of them. Like I feel like I know Glenn because he did the interview with me. I feel like I know you a tiny bit, even from a little bit of interviewing. So the faculty want to make sure that that vibe and what we're all about in hospitality continues. I think the other thing that confounds us now is who are we going to be in 2025 as an
Right.
industry? What should we be teaching
Mm.
that's going to be the new day? Because people are still going to meet, they're still going to travel, but it's going to be different. And I want to be an innovator entrepreneur that knows what that different is.
How about a class
You know?
on dealing with special servicers?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm half joking, but
No.
it's like these are some of the issues that we're really dealing with now that seem shrouded in mystery to the average hotelier.
Absolutely. Think of what's getting thrown at the average hotelier every day. I mean, they're getting, guest complaints, and they're getting people checking in without a mask, and they're running out of supplies, and the new training standards and the extra costs. It's all coming at them at lightning speed. And there is no, one thing I will say as a takeaway from this, from the attendees that I've realized, is there is no consistent message on what we should be doing. Um, like in Florida, the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association has its seal of commitment that restaurants can go through. And these are initiatives all over the country. Here in Palm Beach, Discover the Palm Beaches has their bio-risk adversity rating. So if you come and plan a meeting and you go to all the venues that have participated, but the attendees and the customers, I'm getting calls from regular guests who are at a hotel in Boca Raton telling me, how do I know if this seal of commitment was verified this week before I came here? I don't know that. I'm an educator,
Right.
and let me connect you. So there's so much variety to these standards that people don't know what they're getting. And, the Safe and Sound program, I'm a huge fan of at Seminole Gaming. I love it. I get my temperature checked. There's people constantly roaming around cleaning the slots and tables. I know what to expect. I know the air filters, and I know they're policing the mess. So as a guest, I feel safe there, and I follow their guidelines. I don't know what the others are doing.
Let me give a quick shout out to both Mohegan Sun and Borgata, two locations that we did our show live from, and both places were doing just those things that made us feel extremely safe. So much so, we went to Mohegan Sun. We're like, we got to do this again. That's why we went to the Borgata.
Yeah, they did. They did a great job. I felt very, very comfortable. And listen, most places, even the hotel that we're about to go to, that's opening. I mean, they're all they're thinking about is these standards. So, listen, most hotels. Matter of fact, I just did an article for a major magazine that hopefully will be printing in a week or so, and we talked about it, that it is safe. That guess, and it was interesting because the author wanted to, or the writer wanted me to speak about, is it safe for guests to travel and what should they do? And I talked about what the hotels are doing, and then my PR company publicist called me and said, hey, they really want to know what the guests should do. And I'm like, well, I've been to 2 major casinos and I didn't really have to do anything. Like I bought my cleaning supplies. I didn't bring my own linen and stuff, but I felt very safe. I didn't clean anything, to be honest with you.
Right. Anthony, at Borgata and when I was at Bellagio, they even gave us those check-in kits that made sure we had sanitizers and masks and everything that we needed to interact with their environment safely and securely.
Listen, if I have my sanitizer and my mask and I close the room and it feels clean, I'm good. That's just me. Now, I before all this, I actually cleaned the room more because they weren't so hyper about it. A lot of them.
I agree. I think we're preaching to the choir among your audience that I feel safer now than ever in terms of cleanliness. Sure. I mean, we've always been an industry that prides ourselves on cleanliness, safety, security, but we've hyped it up. Where my concern is now is the cost that lays on the operator,
right?
And how do we train to not only show that consistently, but become the commonplace thinking among consumers that yes, it's safe. This is the new norm. Well, and that's kind of where I'm in the middle of thinking.
Well, I think it's kind of like anything else. You get on an airplane, you don't ask to see the pilot's license. You go into a doctor's office, you don't ask him, 20 questions saying, do you know this? Do you know this? Do you know this? What's going to happen, I think I see it already, that there's got to be a blind faith that like you're choosing these hotels based on reviews online. That's how you're choosing a hotel. Nobody's going to a hotel anymore without looking at reviews. I mean, I wouldn't even think about it. I mean, it wouldn't even cross my mind. So as long as those reviews stay up, that's really the standard. It's not even the seal or the commitment. It's when I go online, are other consumers, the other guinea pigs that went first, are they saying this has been a great experience? As a matter of fact, now that you said that, I've got to go online and give Borgata and Mohegan Sun good reviews, because those reviews are going to mean something coming from a person in the industry.
Absolutely.
Especially too, because those properties are suffering and they can need your help. Borgata just this past week laid off almost half their staff. They went from furlough to full layoffs. So that's pretty stressful. On yesterday's show, we talked about some, how Stephen Rushmore Jr. was on. I highly recommend for you to check that out. He's the president and CEO of HVS. They value properties and they do consulting and stuff. He said that there still seems to be a lot of opportunity for hoteliers to reduce expenses through technology and other things as well. So I do think that while expenses will go up in one area, there is a chance to level those expenses out over time through new innovations and practices.
Absolutely. And that's
which is probably what you're teaching, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of where we hope to be the front runners, is what will that model be and where will we go? And, every day talking to so many people now, I hear the extremes. There are some that are like, we need to be back now. This is silly. The numbers are so low. Just push people to meet. On the other side, I don't ever want to go to a meeting in the same fashion it was before. Well, we've got to find a middle ground, and we've got to agree that, like Anthony said, I have faith in my brand that I'm choosing, in my convention center that I'm choosing.
Right.
And I'm going to read what people have posted all over. And if they're happy and I see 300 happy comments, I'll give a shout out to the Marriott Pompano Beach Resort and Spa. They had so many positive reviews. That's where we decided to go for a beach staycation, because it was like, they're doing it right. I feel safe. There's no problem here. You'll enjoy your stay, and so on. And that's kind of what'll get people out of the house a little bit.
Right. So you can do all the certifications you want, all the seals you want on the doors. You get one or two. I was just talking to a client yesterday, and he said, how should I handle this? I usually do it this way, but this seems to be a little more difficult. And I said, what does the client want? And he's like, well, I'm going to call them and find out. I said, whatever they want, give it to them. And he goes, really? I said, yeah. I said, why? I said, because right now you can't afford one bad comment.
Right.
Because they may lie, because they're so pissed off. They may say nobody's wearing a mask when I know you guys are wearing a mask. So do not do anything. The most critical thing we have right now to get on track are those reviews. Those reviews are absolutely critical. And if you're going to start playing this, my guest was rude, my guest was this, just, get them happy or get them the hell out of your way, but make sure that they go away happy. And they do a good review. Reviews right now are critical, and it's more important than any certification you can get, in my opinion.
Yeah, one of our past guests has made an interesting point. Andrea Stokes, who was on earlier this week, practice lead with JD Power, says she's telling her students during an industry downturn they should learn as many new skills as they are able through free courses. There's also places like LinkedIn, Cvent, etc. She says most hospitality students don't even know what LinkedIn is. What a crazy thing. So for all of you watching us on Facebook, if you're not on LinkedIn, that's a great tool to start to network and get to know people. And during your tenure and your career, you'll really start to build up great relationships.
And this isn't self-serving because I don't make any money from it, but on Prime, if you have Prime, Amazon Prime, 108 episodes of Impossible are free. And every Thursday, I break down one on my Facebook Live. There's no better class than 108 episodes of Hotel Impossible. Not because it's my show, but simply because we review every single thing in a hotel. So if you watch those, and you write notes, you're learning a lot about the industry. And on Thursdays, we break down those shows. So, that's one way of getting free content.
Oh yeah, there's so much content out there. It's incredible. And I love the feedback we get for the value of the certificate we're doing now. It's just such a cheap rate for such great content.
It's not cheap. It's very value priced.
Yeah, it's value driven.
Right, because you're getting great opportunities through it. I don't like that word. I think it
it's
devalues how awesome you are.
thank you, but it's just, to me, like, we did it in a way that I want to reach as many possible people as they're out there, and just cover the cost or lose a little bit. I don't care, because we get a little bit on from the everybody who's donated $1. It's funny. One thing that shakes out of this time that's a little disconcerting for me
Right.
is that we are going to focus so much on efficiencies and cost cutting yet again, like we did after 9/11. And I just wonder what that means 5 to 7 years from now. When I look at MGM furloughing 18,000 and United 16,000, I mean, these numbers are huge. And I wonder how long till we get back to a staffing level that's acceptable in the new world, and what will that staffing level be? That concerns me a little bit. But using technology and efficiencies and new methods to cut costs, it will emerge from this. We'll become stronger again, and we do every time there's a crisis.
Well, I think we should go back to square one, and what does the customer want, and really be obsessive compulsive on the customer needs and anticipation. The one thing I don't think anybody does really, really well is, how do you anticipate a guest needs? What does that mean? Okay, so it's Sunday morning, and what does the guest want on Sunday morning? Okay, that's one way to look at it and to break it down. But let's go past that. Okay, let's surprise the guest. What are they not expecting, but they would be delighted to have? I think that's the mindset that we have to get back to. We've been so efficient, even after 2008, we became efficient. We've been so we're really going to be, from a tech standpoint, very advanced. But what are we doing to think? We don't think enough in this industry.
Anthony, it's so spot on. My whole passion is about the guest. And I always say, if there's no guests, there's no paychecks. I can't do a mortgage, I can't do anything. So stop with your rules, stop with your SOPs, listen to the guests, and then analyze the majority of your guests in your building, and what do they want as a majority, and let's develop SOPs from that, and then bend them when we need to.
But not even what they want. It's, because what Ford say? He says, if I ask my guests what they want, they want faster horses, right? And for the kids that don't understand that reference, go back online and look at it. They're probably already doing it. That's kind of where I kind of disagree with a lot of people. I don't want to give the guests what they need or what they want or what they expect. I want to be the creative person that gives them something they didn't expect. When I went to the Nomad, I'll give it the last time, or I've been surprised a lot in really great hotels, but I went to the Nomad, and 2-3 years ago, and the first time I had their chocolate bar, and I asked, it said chocolate bar. So I was like, all right, I'll have a chocolate bar. Well, it came in there wrapping, it said Nomad, a little gold leaf. So like the golden ticket, it looked like the golden ticket from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Right.
It had their name, on the chocolate, and it was really, really good chocolate. Now, that was an expectation and surprise. I expected a good chocolate bar. I didn't expect that little surprise. And we just suck at giving our guests surprises. We really do. Because it's so many rooms, so many guests every single day, 24/7. So what I want to do is, anytime I take over a hotel, I want to give my employees freedom. Now, one of the things you say to employees, you say, well, you have the freedom to do anything you want. That's too much freedom, because they don't understand what to do with that. Okay, you put them, you give them a little bit of free, you give them a lot of freedom, but you give them a little bit of parameters so they understand what that means, and then you set them free. And I want to hear these stories. I want to hear that a gentleman's tie got stained, and you ran to the store and not only got him a tie, that you comped the tie. Like, I want these shocking surprises to our guests. And we are so focused in the last extra amount of years in this industry of just delivering our standards. It pisses me off. I'm sorry.
I agree. I agree. And my whole innate style, I would equate it with the management company, may it rest in peace, called Bristol Hotels and Resorts.
Oh my goodness.
Bristol was, and still is, the best possible place on earth that anyone could have worked. We empowered van drivers, front desk staff. We gave them purchase cards. If they overheard something in the van, a guest was so tired from the airport and hadn't had a drink, they'd stop at the convenience store and buy them a bottle of water and just give it to them. I mean, that culture made us money. And I think somewhere along the way, we've traded off the idea that that guest loyalty and fanship will be profitable, and we've swapped that out for too efficient. We need to be
Right.
kind of some up in the middle a little bit, you know?
I think I have a philosophy on that. I think that has to go back to the mid 1990s. Now, you guys have been in this business a lot longer than I have, probably. So tell me if I'm wrong. But I think it coincides with the sharp increase of the select service hotel model, the powerhouse of the franchising that's happened over the last 20 years. That's created a machine to keep opening up hotels, which has expanded the hospitality industry so much that you don't necessarily get as many of those hospitality professionals that are dedicated to giving service, like you said, Peter, and it becomes more of like people in jobs as opposed to career-minded professionals in hospitality.
Yes, but also the franchising has done a great job for the industry because, yes.
I'm not lambasting them.
No, I know you're not. Let me finish my thought. Okay, Frank? Let me finish my thought.
Hey, come on. You cut me off all the time. I thought I'd just get in on the action. Go for it.
Oh wow, I got a little scary. I looked at my face. I got
I know. Think about it. What it's like looking at you all the time on the show. Sorry, now you've totally been derailed.
So no, independent hotels for a long time were doing shitty jobs along the highways. They just were, and they were trying to save money, and they weren't doing the job appropriately. So then the bank said, "I'm not going to give you money unless you have a brand." So the brands just, with their systems, kind of cookie cutted all these hotels. So for a guy that's traveling around the country and you have these cookie cutter hotels, it's fine, it's great. So they did do a service. But what's happened with building these so quickly, it's not that they've built them so quickly, it's not that they've had standards, is they promoted too quickly. They've put people in positions that aren't capable of thinking. Boss, what should I do? You want to see me fly off a handle? You ask me what I should do. Boss, what should I do? That is the worst question to ask your boss. Boss, what should I do? What you should say is, hey, boss, this is what I'm thinking. I feel real confident about this, but I'd like to get your input. Or, you know what? This is what I'm thinking, boss, but I'm not really sure. What are your points? Boss, what are you thinking? That's the problem. Everybody's looking behind them and saying, what is the boss? What is the boss? We need people to think and to take risks. And executives need to allow managers to take risks.
Yeah.
One of the things that I try to do every day with people that work around me is just figure it out. Well, how do you want to do it? One, I'm too lazy to want to figure it out myself because I'm too old to want to figure it out. And two, I want to see what you're made of, right? If I have to tell you what to do, what the hell do I need you for? And too many people, too many executives are so insecure, especially now. And listen, we want to hire every single person that's listening to this as an entrepreneur. I don't care if they work for the post office. I don't care if they work for a hotel. You're an entrepreneur, and you need to preneur.
Yeah, I agree. Like right now, academia is so hard hit. I'm trying to do anything I can to be entrepreneurial, help people. The more people find jobs and they recommend us, the more it's cyclical. And coming back, the pressure from up above to reduce costs and efficiencies, I battled that wholeheartedly with my income statements. Whenever I was overexpending on employee culture or this or that, I would show increased revenues and say, listen, this is my method of getting there. So you jump in creatively and like you said, Anthony, some parameters. Because if I tell them you have free reign to do anything, they'll comp the whole stay without thinking, and the guest still leaves annoyed.
No,
Instead,
I find they don't do that. I find that they won't comp the stay because it seems too big.
Too big?
It seems too big. So I've never had somebody come to me and say, I just comp the entire stay because it's too big for them. Like they're too scared. And 99.9% of the time, you don't have to comp the whole stay.
I kind of train them.
The guests don't want you to.
No, they don't. They want you to fix the one part that gave them the agita, as I call it in Italian, the one that gave them heartburn.
And send them on their way. Listen, this is pretty serious. The comments I'm hearing, just treat people like you want to be treated. First impressions, everything. Yes, that's all true. creative thought is needed.
Right.
Yes.
Don't just repeat what everybody else has done because they've always done it that way.
Because you want to be treated. No, because the way I want to be treated is I don't know how I want to be treated because I've been running around the country for so long, going to hotels. I just want a clean, nice room. I want
Right.
you to think of how you think I should be treated.
Right.
And
You know,
yeah, Peter, sorry.
okay, it all comes back to one word. Just listen. We're so busy running in circles, we're not listening to the guest in front of us. That's how I pick up cues, and that's what was great with the Bristol culture years ago, is that we were taught to listen to what they were chatting about and saying, and then make moments happen out of
Right.
that. So if I heard they were coming for a bar mitzvah, if I heard they were coming for a kid's birthday, I remember managing a very large Holiday Inn in Tampa. We were across from Moffitt Cancer Center. So if we heard they were coming for cancer treatment, we would try to do things that tailored to them
Right.
and just surprise them. Like Anthony said, not what they need, but just going beyond listening to them and surprising them with something that's way beyond what they thought they needed.
It's amazing that little trick that 5-star hotels do. I don't know which brand started it, where the front desk knows your name as you're walking up, and that's because the bellman looked at your luggage and gave them the name over the microphone, over the headset, and said, "Mr. and Mrs. Smith coming your way." Oh, hi, Mr.
Right.
Smith, and then that blows people's brains. Like, how do they know it's me? It's like that little thing. Look at the name tag on the
Right.
luggage.
And I think that's a great point, Anthony. It doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't have to be
It's never big.
expensive. It has to be something that just connects emotionally with people.
It's never
Yeah.
expensive and it's never big. It's
Mhm.
almost never expensive and never big. But, and I want to make sure I'm clear on this point. I say people get promoted too quickly, and that's dangerous. I would hire somebody right out of school. There's a 20-year-old kid that's working right now in the hotel that worked in another hotel that I got him a job in, and well, he got himself a job. I just got him the interview. And this kid at 20 years old has got more experience than most people at 30. And I want him to be a general manager at 22, 23 years old. And I think he will be, because he is smart and he can figure it out. So I don't mean experience like I need housekeeping and I need food and beverage and I need revenue management. I need somebody that gets thrown at something and figures it out. Like right now, there's a lot of kids online that aren't good at learning online, and they've got to figure it out. They've got to, hopefully the professors help them, hopefully their parents help them, but they've got to figure it out. And the people that can overcome that, because if you tell me I have to learn online, I'm out. I'm gone. I probably won't finish college. Because I have to push myself to learn online. So that, to me, right now, I think what's going to come out of this, we're going to get a lot of entrepreneurial thinking kids that are going to come out of this, and they're going to figure it out. And they have to. And we need, as executives, to put them in very difficult situations and let them see what they can do. There's too much babysitting going on, including my own kids.
No, it's everywhere, and I agree. It's time to, here's the goal. Give me some creative ways to get there, and then let's chat, and we'll find out. Okay, I like this. Let's tweak this. Let's do that. But I think it's an exciting time. I try to be positive, and will there be changes in higher education and hospitality? Absolutely. Some schools will actually close their doors. Some will change their style of programs. Some will change their curriculum. But that's the nature of our business. We ebb and flow and evolve over time, and that's who we are. And if we don't stay current, so be it. So I think the skill sets of communication, leadership, basic management, and critical thinking are here to stay forever, and we just apply them in different ways as the industry changes. One of the comments to add about online learning, I heard faculty members bantering the other day about students who couldn't access the course in our learning management system called Canvas, and they were trying all these different methods to get the student to understand. Well, then lo and behold, one of the students had never used the internet before.
What?
So we had to stop and say, we're not listening. It's all comes back to listening. I may know that Anthony stayed in hotels 360 nights, but I may not know that the guest behind him has never been in a hotel before.
Right.
So we really need to listen to where people are and be proactive instead of reactive. And I saw somebody write that comment.
Yes.
That's so funny. That's always my thought, is proactive instead of reactive. But here we are bantering about how to get them to use Canvas better. Well, the student didn't even know how to use the internet. So it took a phone call and a socially distancing visit to
Mhm.
get that student comfortable to get started. But like Anthony said, if they throw up their hands, and there's a lot of students doing that around the globe, that is scary for us as an industry later on. We need educated talent, and we need patience to get them there to learn.
Peter, can I throw this out? Let me play devil's advocate there for a second. Let me say maybe it's a good thing that they're weeding themselves out now instead of going into the workplace and failing for professional hoteliers there. Does that sound like it's a possibility as well? Oh, Anthony's making a face. Ooh.
I don't know. I'll let the doctor answer that, but I don't think I agree with that. But go ahead.
Okay.
Well, I will say that we're coming off a decade of so much growth and so much employment demand that there's not one employer that hasn't told me that people wouldn't show up for interviews, weren't really their first choice, but got hired anyway. I think if anything, it'll sift, and the strongest will survive. I think it's a time for sifting. I'd rather not say they fail now and then never come in the business, but I think it's a time for us to have the ability and the downturn in size where we can pick and hire the best. To believe it or not, I post jobs for our students and alumni every day, and during normal times I was posting 500,000 jobs a week. I'm still posting 20 to 30 jobs a week, even during the abyss of the worst times of the pandemic. So I tell students, if you're good, there is some place in the world that is hiring now, and it will always be that way. So I think we're just sifting through to find the best that we can right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and this may not be good for higher education, but I think we're going to be more forgiving in 2 or 3 years when people say, listen, I only got 1 year of college or 2 years of college or 3 years of college. I didn't finish my degree. Did you hear there was a pandemic? My family lost their business. I couldn't afford it. I was stressed out, whatever it was. And I know I would be more forgiving now than I would have been a year ago.
Absolutely.
And so show some effort. If you can't do it, wait a year, come back. There's some kids that just can't learn online. I would try my hardest. I would really, really demand the best of myself. But at 19 years old, I don't know if I would be able to do it. And I'm going to say another thing that may or may not be appropriate. Join the Air Force. This is a good time. Join the Air Force for a couple of years. Do a 2-year stint. Come out when things are a little bit normal. And as an Air Force guy, the Air Force saved my life. Give yourself a break. Right now, we've got to give these kids a break and say, whatever works for you, and you're going to be forgiven because this is hard for us. You're 55, I'm 55. Glenn, it looks only 50, but he's 63. And it's
hey, I'm gorgeous. What can I tell you? All right. So I think that's a really good point, Anthony. And let me just tell people, while hospitality and education, especially at FAU, is a great thing to do, there are a lot of top-level executives in our business that never went to hospitality school.
Chris Green.
Right,
Absolutely.
right. He had told us on the show he did not finish college. A lot of the major CEOs of the major hotel companies started out as folks that carried bags or worked behind the front desk. So an education in hospitality is not necessarily the only way you could get to the top. There's a lot of nuances in there.
Absolutely.
We've got to finish the show because David Blaine is going up in a balloon on YouTube, and I want to see it.
Well, we got one more question. This is a really good one. How can our industry better support hospitality programs such as FAU, UCF, et cetera, to make your curriculum real, current, and on point with today?
I struggle with this because I'm an industry guy and I didn't do my doctorate till I was 40. So
Right.
I always want curriculum to be current and relevant. We have a program here called the Employee Partner Program, where you give us a small amount of funds, a couple of thousand, and then we infuse your business into the curriculum. So you co-teach with us. You have to learn our textbook, and then if the textbook is talking about check-in processes, then we'll use your company's check-in processes to help teach that chapter. And so we
Mhm.
infuse the employer with the curriculum, and then the employer is front and center to recruit from those students. It's been a fantastic program. So there are many ways to get involved with the curriculum. The best way is just reach out to the dean or the director, whoever's there, and say, hey, I work for this supplier company, I work for this cruise line, this is what I want to do. The college degree is not a necessary thing for everybody. I think the skills are, and that's why I like, I'll be remiss if I didn't give a plug for our program, but I kind of like
Well, you
programs
have to.
in the business school because we offer a bachelor's of business administration. It just happens to be a major in hospitality. So you get out of school later, you still have a BBA. You can go into banking, you can go into car sales, you can go into real estate. You have a basic business degree. And I think that's what the audience will agree with, is that it's business skills first, and whether they're learned on the fly on the job, whether through an associate's, a bachelor's, or an MBA, that's up to you.
They have to learn
But
how
yeah,
to think. It's one thing to get the content. They have to learn how to think. If you take over a hotel tomorrow, right, and you're a young manager, the first thing is, what does the owner want? You have to pick up the cues. You have to pick up his physical cues, what he's saying in his voice, his tone. You've got to know that. Then you got to put that in your brain and say, okay, this is what he wants. He's not going to be happy unless he gets that. So now I go to my employees, I go to my team, and I go, okay, my employees and team, they're all excited, they're all pumped up, they're all passionate. But all this guy wants is he wants 97% occupancy, and I can only give him 80% occupancy right now. So how do I deal with those two things? How do I deal
right,
with my staff who's really, really happy, is killing themselves, but my owner's 97% occupancy in his head? How do I manage him and how do I manage that and get it together? And what people do is they ignore the owner. They go to their team. They try to keep their owner, their employees happy, while the owner is crapping down the general manager's neck, and the general
mhm,
manager, who the employees really like, get fired because he doesn't know how to deal with the owner. And
right,
so my biggest thing I've seen in this industry, people don't know how to think, and people don't know how to handle and manage people. We can learn how to do things. We need to learn how to manage people. And
yeah, I
think we that has been lost, man. That has been lost. That is a lost art of how to be intuitive, how to be proactive, and how to don't ignore that your boss wants something because it's too hard to give it to him, and
of
don't
course,
ignore that your employees because it's too hard to deal with them. And that to me, I hold people's feet to the fire literally and just say, we need to get this done, and this is why, and it's hard, but then we work together for it, and we see these little victories. And I don't mean to keep going off on this, but I'm just fed up with us not thinking and being. As long as we talk and communicate, that's hospitality. Everything else
yep,
we learn.
yeah.
That's
I agree. It's communication, critical thinking, leadership. Those are my three things. And
8,000, 10,000 emails
yep,
a day, you giving this free course. That has nothing to do with your hospitality experience. That has to do with you being a good leader and a person that understands how to bring people together and how people need to feel. That has nothing to do with cleaning a room. And that's how you were as a general manager. That's how you were as a busboy. You were
right,
intuitive. That's who you
right.
are. And how do we as executives really give, not so much teach that, but give people the freedom to be that?
Yeah, that's an interesting point because it's right. You have to listen to all the stakeholders, and then put it in a pot, stir it, and come out how it's going to be a win-win. You can't just placate the employees, because then if the GM gets fired, the employees are mad at the owner. They're not going to like the next GM automatically, and the goals will never get there. You're
Listen,
right.
I got a compliment yesterday from my executive assistant that worked at the Algonquin, and she sent me an email saying one of the guests asked if I can come back. So when I was there, people didn't really, maybe a lot of employees didn't. I don't know if they like me or not, but they respected the fact that we got really difficult stuff done. And
Okay.
that's what. So if I would have got myself fired, they wouldn't have had protection. They had protection for 2 years from everybody because I protected them, and the owners had protection from the employees because I protected the owners. And
Right.
that's what general managers need to be really good at.
Yeah, that's perfectly stated. I agree. It's a changing world, and it'll change again 5 years from now.
But one thing is certain: hard work will get you places. Take Ruben Rodriguez Jr. He started from the ground level. 20 years later, he's an executive hospitality manager. He worked every job from bellman all the way up to manager, step by step. No shortcuts. Congratulations, Ruben.
Amen, Ruben. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's I remember getting promoted from dishwasher to busboy still is one of my best, happiest days ever. I mean, every step is a step, and I'm able to tell any employee in the face, I've made beds, I'm there to check in with you, I answer the switchboard, I've been there, done that, and I'm with you. I'm not leading you because I'm not with you.
Being creative and being allowed to be creative. Like example, I'm sitting here and I just figured out how to make my tie catch the crumbs on my lunch that I'm going to eat in a few minutes.
Very nice.
Look at that.
What are you having for lunch, Anthony?
I have no idea.
All right.
Sure,
Excellent. All right. So, Peter, Anthony's got to go. I blame him on this for going to having to see David Blaine. But one last question for you. What's the one thing you would tell a hospitality student right now? And then you could follow that up with a good shameless plug.
No, I mean, there's not, the only thing I tell them is if hospitality's in your blood, it's not going away. So don't fight it. Just find a way to make it work. I would tell them to get a pure business degree with hospitality sprinkling in it. So learn finance, accounting, organizational behavior, HR, all the pieces that we need to run a successful business, but then have in your gut the intuition and drive that it's all about a guest. Without the guest, we have nothing. We can't pay one paycheck.
And lean into your crazy. Lean into what makes you special. That's what we need to do. I've always appreciated people who are a little bit different, that are a little bit crazy. Could be a little bit, aggressive. Could be a little bit annoying. Could be many things. But could be musically inclined. Could be a singer.
Sure.
Like lean into what makes you. And I lean into my impatience when it's needed, and I control it when it's needed. But when my impatience goes crazy, that's sometimes when I'm at my best, because I don't give a crap if anybody's thinking this is what we're going to do, because my impatience got the best of me.
Yeah, my obsessive compulsive is what gets me through all those 8,000 emails. And I saw a pop-up comment from one of my colleagues at IHG from years ago. They would literally rearrange my room at the hotel while I was away and see how long it took me to get it straightened out, because that's how I process. I'm like 90 miles a minute, that's my unique quirk.
When you walk into a room, one of the things I do, and I don't know if you do it, is I have to set up my my sink with all my toiletries and my toothbrush. Everything's got to be perfectly lined up.
Of course.
Before I leave the room.
Of course.
All right, so guys, I do want to say something that adds to what Anthony and Dr. Peter were just saying right now. To actually be yourself, you have to know who you are as an individual and trust yourself and your personality quirks to be authentically you. If you can't be authentically yourself at all times, you're never going to find the success, because anytime I know I didn't listen to my gut and I wasn't authentically me, it created blockades for me in my career. So my advice is really understand who you are as a human being and live it to your fullest.
Amen. That's so right. Spot on.
So Doc, how do we find you?
Hospitality at fau.edu. And I promise you I'll respond in 24 hours, because I always do. unless something major happen. Our website's floating across. I can't thank you guys enough. Keep involved and keep being positive. We're here to stay, and I love this business. We're not going anywhere.
Hey, and let us know when you need to have us come back and do more sessions with you. I had such a great time doing that last one. I don't know if I'm ever going to get over the student criticism that you had that I stand. That's going to be very difficult for me to process.
And
I love it.
Against you that you didn't ask me to get involved, so click him off right now.
Oh, he did ask you.
I did. You were a busy man.
What did I do? I didn't do anything?
No, you were a busy man. You couldn't get the dates. It's fine.
Oh,
you're a busy hotel impossible guru.
But please, let's do it again.
I will.
All right.
Thank you guys so much. You're awesome.
Thank you, Dr. Ricci. We'll see you again, hopefully again soon. Thank you so much for
All right. Thank you.
I love that, man. This is what I love about doing this live stuff, Anthony, because we didn't know he was going to be a guest 24 hours ago, and we just had such an awesome show with somebody.
So more importantly, let's see how good David is as a producer, and try to get David Blaine. I don't know if you're allowed to do it on YouTube. He's flying 30,000 feet on helium balloons right now.
That's cool. No, we can't do it. We'll get copyright issues.
Banned? All right, so I'm going to go look at that after this, before I make the next meeting. But anyway, it was a great show. We need to teach people to take care of yourself, your mind, your body, and your soul, and be creative. Classes are one thing. Learning information is one thing. Managers are not being taught how to deal with very stressful situations when it comes to banking, when it comes to ownership, when it comes to unions, when it comes to employees, how to hold yourself accountable and how to manage that process. If any reason I've had any success in my career, it's because I got a bunch of crazy people around me and I managed them. It's not so much I knew how to run a hotel better than anybody else, or I knew how to do a P&L better than anybody else, or I knew how to clean a room better than anybody else, but I knew how to keep all the crazy people away from each other. And when we need to bring them together, we brought them together. And if I did anything in my career, I did that, I think, probably better than most people.
Control the crazy. Sounds like what we try to do here every single day. All right, tomorrow we got Stephen Gottlieb. He's a director of revenue management with Graduate Hotels. We love those folks over at Graduate Hotels. We want to understand what they are up to. And then again on Friday, Dr. Michael Osterholm, one of the country's top most infectious disease specialists. He's like Dr. Fauci adjacent. This is a huge get. Make sure you check out our special show, all new this Friday. I know Anthony and I have been taking off Fridays, but we're going to do an all new live show this Friday and, of course, tomorrow as well.
Yeah, and please look him up so you can see who he is. And so you ask intelligent questions. Please give us comments for him. We would love to, even tomorrow, maybe throw some comments up and or DM us and we'll ask him some questions. But he's the guy in the know. So there you go. So tomorrow, 3:00, Hospitality Success, Facebook Live, be there. We're taking all our content also on this show, putting it on Facebook. That way we can manage it better. And because we're seeing a little bit of numbers everywhere, and we want to bring it all together because, like I said, we're getting over 700,000 click-throughs a month. But we need to kind of put it all together and process it all together so we can manage it better. So thank you very much. Glenn, what are you doing, Glenn?
Right now, I am going to go.
Please don't tell us what you're doing now. Give us a shameless plug because we don't care.
Okay, Joe, check out novacancynews.com. That's where we put all of our information if you're not on one of the top social media sites. I'm excited to say that Anthony and I are going to be participating in a major hotel companies conference coming in October. I'm looking forward to doing that. I will be also doing a couple of other conferences. So listen, guys, if you're planning conferences and events, virtual, in person, Anthony and I are your team in order to get things done. Let's bring our infectious enthusiasm that we have every day on our show to your event.
And the 16th of September, we have a surprise for you.
We do. I don't know what that is, but we'll figure it out. Oh, no, I know what it is. Sorry. I know exactly what it is. We're going to this big surprise. I think that this is going to blow people away, and it doesn't have to do with Anthony and I specifically, but I think you guys are going to absolutely be blown away. We'll talk about more of that starting next week.
Let's put it this way. It's one of a kind. No one else in the world has it, and we are excited to be part of it.
All right, Anthony, let's wrap up the show and do a little bit different today. So you've got one life. So Blaine on, and